Well, we haven't had the results yet, the confirmed results of the women, of the junior women. As you can see, though, the junior men just about to get underway.
He was the team bronze medal winner already last year.
British team, Elliot Bowker, Pete Chambers, Jonathan Gann, a little bit of an inexperienced team here. Jack Hopkins, Michael Venard, Kieran Wood. Bit of an open race here. There's a fair bit of talk about the Italians there. Johannes Ciapianelli. He's a man who is considered to have a good chance. And one or two of the Turkish athletes, again, considered to be in with a very, very good chance here. So the junior men, again, a fairly short race. Even though, you know, the point is, a lot of these guys, even though they're under 20, they will run in senior races more often than not in the winter season. And this, for quite a few of these guys, will be a pretty short race, to be honest. So no chance to hang around. There's the Brits.
Now we have less than 2 minutes until the next start.
Junior men will contest over just over 6,000 meters. They've got 3 short laps and then 4 long laps. I don't think I've ever called a long lap 1,100 meters as a long lap. That normally would be the shorter lap bit.
I think the danger is it's going to get very confusing as we get into the further distances, and a lot of people are going to need to stay aware of how many laps they've run and not be finishing a lap too soon. And there's potential for severe confusion here today.
Well, in the trials in Liverpool, it was Pete Chambers who came out on top. You can see that now they've laid this stuff down, Paula, at that kind of gravelly mush.
Technical word there.
Exactly, yeah. At least your spikes can go into it. It's trying to give a little bit of. The only trouble is that was when the sun gets up, that then, as you said, it tends to mush.
But it is by far preferable to anything like wood chip that they would lay down, which then gets stuck on the spikes and can be really dangerous.
Yeah, I've heard your wood chip comments in the past.
On your mark.
So it's just over 6 kilometers ahead for the junior men. Great Britain will be hoping that they can get a solid team performance. For many of them, this is the first chance. Look at how quickly they've gone off here. And yes, you do need to go quickly at the beginning, but do you know what? They wouldn't start a 5K track race that quick.
No, I mean, introducing another technical term, there's a few there that will have shot their bolt in the first 100 meters because they won't be able to maintain this. And although we have talked about not scaring people with the altitude, if you start off too fast, then normally you are carrying a lot of lactic acid and you find that hard to deal with in the closing stages of the race. But when it is slightly at altitude as well, you will feel the effects and you will be able to dissipate that lactic acid far more difficultly from your body. And so although you do, as we talked about, because it's so wide a start and it narrows down so quickly, you do need to get yourself well placed. You don't need to start off too quickly here. You really do need to judge it well. One thing maybe, because the course has been cut and shortened, some of these guys will have come here expecting a 7,000 meter race, and what they've actually got is a 6,000 meter race. So it does change it, and it can make you just a little bit more jumpy, a little bit more antsy to get underway at the start.
Well, the short lap is almost a track lap, as I've mentioned, just over 500 meters. And 3 times round, that should give yourself the chance to settle down. I'm not sure, as you said, that idea of going off that hard is that helpful, but Mulcair of Ireland decided that's his best tactics. So that's that first short lap completed in around about 1:48.
I mean, it's not that far removed really from a track race, is it? This is 600 metres, it's 400 metres on the track. It's just a very, very testing track race. But Kevin Mulcair, though, started out very fast and straight away going to the front and maintaining the pace throughout that first lap, certainly, and starting to string out these runners, which in itself is a good thing too, because on a course like this, when the ground is as churned up and as rutted as we've talked about, it's much easier if you can see the ground in front of you rather than just the back of the person in front. So being able to pick your way through the better ground and to choose where you place your feet, I think, is an advantage. So being at the front is better than being stuck in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, well, that's what you used to think, yeah. Happy in the pack, me, cross country. I can just while we're watching this, can't confirm the official results. I haven't seen the graphics of it yet because obviously we're watching the junior men. The official result is that Great Britain did win the gold medal as expected in the junior women's race. We're just waiting for confirmation of that. And as I said, Jess Judd, silver medal. Lydia Turner, a really good run from Lydia. Bronze medal rewarded for what has already been a great season for her. Lydia, coached by Thomas Milmore. For the guys, the British men in this race, massive experience, as I said. And I always think the European Cross is a great way to get your first fest. I mean, a lot of people, obviously, they never get the chance to do it on the track. It's important that we send full teams here. For many athletes who train hard their whole career, going into a European cross-country championships, or there's a wider discussion around the World Cross-Country Championships about whether we're going to send, what sort of teams we're going to send, and whether we should, when they're in places like China, and obviously the standard is so much higher at the World Cross. But for a lot of athletes, Paula, this might be the pinnacle of their career, pulling on a British vest in an event like this.
Absolutely, and look at this course today. We've talked about how tough it is, how testing it is. This is true cross-country, and we don't see that more recently at the World Cross Country. And I also think the importance for a young athlete to come in with the team camaraderie of Britain having done as well as they have in previous years. It's a huge boost, and it's an amazing experience, and I think it really fires them up then to go on and to perform well through the rest of the winter and on the track coming into it. So I think it's very, very important. It's important to be part of the team, and it's important to go here and run well.
The Italian runner is taking
I was actually in the Northeastern Cross Country Championships. Would have had a lot of county championships around Great Britain over the weekend, and on the Town Moor in Newcastle. And all I'll say, it was a traditional, or is a traditional cross-country course. Couple of ski slopes in it, and a bit of mud, uneven ground. Traditional course, one which actually held the National Cross-Country Championships. I was reminded all the way back in 1986, I actually dropped out with a twisted ankle, track wimp, and that sort of thing happens, isn't it? You lose a shoe, you turn an ankle. Now. Yeah, exactly. Tim Hutchings won that day, and it was just reminded you about the fact that a lot of our track runners still see cross-country, and should do, absolutely should do, as Jess Judd did, see cross-country in the winter as you're making or contributing to their endurance base, which they will rely on come the summer.
Absolutely. Just getting back to the race here at the front, the Italian athlete there with actually Crippa on his vest number, I think, is Johannes Cipanelli, who was one of the favourites, I'd say, coming into this race, a steeplechaser in the summer. I think, did he finish as high as 8th in Zurich?
Yeah.
Possibly in the European Championships. So he's... I'm not sure why he's chosen to put Crippa, unless it's a misprint or just a shortened version of that name, but running alongside Millet of France, also a steeplechaser, who also figured very highly. I think Cipanelli figured highly in the World Junior Championships in Eugene as well, so completely different conditions as we've talked about here today, but he's running strongly, and that's two steeplechase exponents pushing on at the front of this race. Looking at the team situation there, I mean, we can see Turkey packing very, very well. Also, France have got a lot of runners up there, and Russian maybe behind that. So I'd say between Turkey and France at the moment, with Russia and possibly Spain in the running also.
37 seconds. Now they are in their first 4 long laps.
Well, Cepinelli is there with Crippa, the Italians with 2 in there, and we've got Spain with 1 or 2 in that lead group, but Turkey the ones who are packing the best. And of course, Turkish athletics has had some controversy with the fact that they've had a fair few athletes from Kenya and other parts of the world who've been given Turkish citizenship, but nonetheless they also have their own athletes who are doing well. And look at them here, they're packing, there's 4 of them very, very close together in this lead group, completely dominating. France doing well also. British men, British junior men, a little further back as expected. Not an event, a race that we were expecting them to do brilliantly well. I think they're not too far away in contention for. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, Paula, we always say this in these races, that if there's 2 or 3 of you running together and all of you move up 4 or 5 places, suddenly you go from contending 6th and 7th team to contesting perhaps for a medal.
Absolutely, and I think what they do need to do is stay composed and calm. You can see a couple of the guys moving wide as they came up the hill there to choose a little bit of better running, and also to get the chance to move around groups and huge clusters here of people who have started off too fast and are now starting to slip backwards. And I think what the British team did do was start conservatively and are seeming to move through now as the race moves on. They will be getting information from team members out around this course. We've seen a number of British tracksuits and flags dotted around, and that is important in cross-country races, to be able to get that information on gaps and on team scores shouted to you to enable you to gauge your effort and move on. I'm not sure what Crippa was doing there, waving his hands, I think complaining at the Turkish athlete behind him who had clipped his heels, which clipping your heels on a track is annoying and upsetting. Clipping your heels on a cross-country race is extremely dangerous, because as I talked about, I would be having 15mm, 18mm spikes in the front of my spikes. So if you run up the back of the person in front of them, you will at the very least take off their shoe, and you risk having damage. I remember my brother in a cross-country race in Shrewsbury many years ago, finishing the race and turning around and seeing the bone beneath his ankle at the back, because somebody had stood on him at the start. Sorry, apologies to anybody with a weak stomach.
Oh, well, yes, it's not for the faint of heart, cross-country. And just look at the way these guys are moving now. All of a sudden, Mayo has really pushed on here, the Spanish athlete, and Crippa of Italy really trying to forge the issue here. Mayo's had a good cross-country season already. He went to the World Junior Championships, 10,000 and 5,000 metres, so he's got a lot of strength, the Spaniard. Crippa doing better than his more renowned teammate Cepinelli, who's a little further back in the blue, back in the group there. So these 5 just starting to pull away. In fact, not just starting, they're forging away at this point, Paula. And
I was going to say, I mean, just that was impressive there, to look at the pace that they're moving on. As we see the Turkish athlete, I'm going to try and pronounce that, Beknezi or something like that, he really slipped coming into that. But the pace that they're moving at over this ground is extremely impressive and very powerful running. We're a bit concerned that that athlete there that we saw that had stepped off might have been one of the British athletes, possibly Elliot Bowden, maybe.
Well, Beknej at the front, with Mayo though forcing the pace. Novikov, the Russian, looks comfortable as well, doesn't he? And then look at the gap that they've introduced so quickly. Yeah, Crippa now taking it up. Ooh, a little slip again from him, and you really just got to be careful. It wasn't anyone's fault there. He looks across his own to say, what are you doing? That was just him slipping. And of course, the quicker you run, Paula, on this sort of surface. These guys really are shifting at the minute. They really have picked up the pace, almost a track pace, at least for a short while. It looks as though maybe they've settled down a little bit. The quicker you run, those little bits of unbalance can have even more of an effect.
Absolutely, and that's where the choice, as we said, of length of spikes is vital, but also the core strength. And that's one of the things that I was talking about with Jess Judd in the previous race, is that they really need to have that core strength from their abdominal muscles and from their back muscles to be able to hold the centre of gravity steady as they're running over such uneven ground. I mean, people think obviously the lower leg muscles really need to be working to stabilise your ankle and foot muscles, but all the way up, every muscle in your body will be working on a course like this, whereas if you're in a track race or a road race, certain muscles can be a little bit weaker and you can get away with it. Here there's no getting away with it. You need to have the right footwear and you need to have an extremely strong overall core and body.
I'm not sure I would have qualified in that respect. Maybe why I struggle sometimes on the country. Well, talking about struggling, one or two of them in that lead group are now, and it's Kripa pushing on here with Mayo of Spain behind him, and now they start to stretch out a little bit. The two Turkish athletes starting to struggle, Bekmej and El Katmis, with Novikov in between them, trying to hang on here, as Kripa really is putting his foot down here. Another casualty of the conditions perhaps here today. Well, if you were looking at the clock there, we just making little notes. That lap was much quicker. That previous lap was why it broke up. Obviously, how they got away, and now all of a sudden there's another surge on. They settled for a little while, didn't they? And now there's another surge on. That tells you a couple of things, Paula. One is either I'm feeling good, or I don't fancy my chances in the latter stages, and a bit of a kick here. But he just looks as though he's moving across the ground really nicely, Kripa, though, doesn't he? He's had one or two little slips, but look at him. He's no worries here. Mayo trying to hang on to him. Novikov, the Russian, struggling to stay with this. Yeah,
I mean, I think certainly if you look at the running and the running form of the lead two here, they look much more comfortable. Novikov almost looks like he's fighting over it, and the two front runners do look very composed and comfortable, almost like floating in the case of Kripa over that ground. And yes, looking down, and they can see the concentration on their faces. They choose the best place to place their feet. But surges of this type, I think, are testing out the other athletes, and there's a lot of physical, obviously, testing of the other athletes, but also mental testing in terms of, yeah, I feel great here. This bit's a rough area, so I'm still going to surge over it, and you see if you can stay with me.
Oh, look at this, Novikov. Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, you know, Kripa's efforts to break this up, he got it down to 3, but he couldn't break it up, and it's the Russian who just for a while looked as though he was struggling to stay with it, has now pushed on. And this man, who's got good pedigree on the track, 3,000 meters, and here, this would be a surprise, to be honest, because he certainly wasn't one of those who was necessarily fancied to win this race. And all of a sudden, Paula, that's a huge lead he's built in just a few hundred meters. Yeah, that's a substantial lead in probably, I would say, only 200-300 meters, and that's encouraging for him, but demoralising for the people around him. But just look at his legs there. You can see how much this course is warming up and thawing out as the day wears on, because he is absolutely covered. He spent a lot of time in the pack and did work his way through, but you can just see there just how much of a contrast there is between those hard, frozen, snowy areas and the mud there. That might have been Pete Chambers just going through the picture. Almost reminds you, remember when Russia found the Rybakov twins, who came out and dominated at junior level, and they've never really gone on to do anything at the senior level at all, have they? But have they found somebody here? Novikov is absolutely flying. And, well, given the tough nature of this race and the course, this is very impressive indeed, because he's completely destroyed the rest of the field. And he's gone the wrong way. They've sent him into the finish. He's got another lap to go yet. Oh, that's shocking. That is really bad. That is shocking. To think that someone running at that pace is being lapped is really bad. That's why he was going so hard, Paul. He's miscounted. That's obviously what we were talking about. He thought he was on the last lap. And you and I have been saying, with the confusion that can be created when you have so many laps, you've got to count the laps. No wonder he was going so hard. No wonder the others couldn't contend with his surge. They were thinking, what on earth is going on here? Well, Novikov, maybe for Christmas somebody will give him an abacus.
Oh.
I mean, I'm making fun of it, but you've got to know how many laps you're doing. You've got to know how long you've been running. I mean, the difference between 5K and 6K is a lot. Admittedly, the laps are only 1,100 meters, but that's his responsibility. Yes, I'm not sure the marshals did a lot wrong there. They did have the flags out to send the athletes out on another lap, and he tried to run down the finish straight.
I mean, it's vital that you're able to count the laps, but also to know basic things like you can hear that they're ringing the bell. So if the bell hasn't rung, then you haven't gone on to the last lap. But you've got to feel from there, because he's obviously attacked far too hard, and you'd hope that he can now gather something for himself and fight on. But I think there now, especially with the demoralising blow of realising what you've done, being able to get yourself moving again is tough. But this guy's totally capitalised on that now. He had the confidence to be able to try and go with the Russian athlete when he did kick hard in that last lap, and that has meant that he now moves away from Mayo, so he has a little bit of a gap going into this last lap, and he's probably still trying to work out exactly what happened there in his head, but knows that he's in front and that he needs to just keep working hard and working strongly over this final lap.
Yeah, and what Novikov did, it does affect the other athletes, because, as you said, Kripper and Mayo, you don't know whether to go with it. You think, goodness me, I've still got a bit to run here. So he not only affected his own performance, obviously, and he's now got to keep going, because Russia are still in a team medal position, and if the wheels do come off for him and he doesn't run this last lap at a reasonable pace, they'll drop out of the medals. But to be fair, this guy was looking the best, wasn't he, up to that point? He must have been thinking, what on earth is going on here?
Well, if we were thinking, oh my goodness, how can you throw a surge like that in the penultimate lap of this race and really blow it open like that in the space of a couple of 100 meters, then this guy must have really been thinking that as well. So to maybe have the composure to think that that's what Novikov might have been doing, I doubt it. I think he was just trying to cover that and trying to keep his race going as strongly as he could to the end. But then he got that almost present of seeing and realizing what Novikov had done, and that will have helped him and will have helped Mayo too in second.
Well, he finished 7th at these championships last year in the junior race, Kripper, and this time, though, he's well on his way to taking the gold medal. He keeps looking behind, but there's no danger. Mayo is in second place. He's starting to lap athletes now. We're going to see this a lot in the longer races, because with such a short lap, the guys at the front and the women at the front will undoubtedly catch some of the back markers. So don't worry about them. There's your leader. There's the man who's going to win the gold medal, Kripper of Italy. And yeah, that guy's got another lap to go, and Mayo will be in second place of Spain. But no doubt for this man here, he must have wondered what on earth was happening, but he kept his cool, and Kripper of Italy takes the gold medal. I'm not sure about the celebration, to be fair, but never mind.
Not sure what that was. Was he trying to channel his Usain Bolt?
Anyway, Mayo takes a well-deserved silver medal, the Spaniard, and a good race for third place. And well, that's a well-judged performance. Attackers come through. Mokhtar, there's Ciappinelli. The Italians doing very well in the team performance here, and pretty sure their fourth runner will just come across the line now, so Italy will definitely win the team race. Close with Spain, mind you. Yeah, I'm saying Italy. I suspect it will be Italy with first and third. But Spain, they're very much thereabouts, and the Russians will be watching to see with Novikov. There's Chambers coming through for Great Britain. Is that him? Did he drop out completely? It is him.
I think it was Jack Hopkins, was maybe the first British finisher there coming in. That is the sight of poor Novikov. I mean, I don't think he even carry on to finish that. I think he stopped then. I think he totally misjudged his race and wasn't able to continue in any shape or form.
Jonathan Glenn just coming into Great Britain. I would think you saw the caption yourself, it wouldn't have improved, but round about 6th, maybe moved up to 5th. They were improving their team standing, but round about 6th place there. And there's Novikov.
He did finish.
He did finish. He's obviously told to get up and finish, but Russia, I think, will have lost out on what would have been a pretty solid bronze medal for them. Well, a bit of drama there in the junior men's race, and I just wonder whether we're going to see that again. Maybe the other teams will take note of that and just remind their athletes again. Everybody was told, the changes that were made were given to all of the teams last night, and they all will have been made well aware. And Paula made a very, very good point. If you haven't heard the bell, you've still got at least one lap to go. Whatever you think or wherever you think you might be in the race. It's easy for us to laugh about it. People do get tired and miscount, but nonetheless...
it's easy for officials to make mistakes as well. And I'm thinking back to when Europe World Cross Country in Marrakesh in 1998. We counted through laps correctly, and we came round to go into the finishing straight, and we weren't allowed up the finishing straight. So it was only for the quick thinking of Sonia O'Sullivan, who managed to find a gap in the fence, that we didn't have to go around for another 2-kilometre loop before we were allowed up to the finish.
I wouldn't argue with Sonia. So gold for Italy. Gold and bronze for Italy in the junior men. Silver to Spain. Carlos Mayo celebrating there.
And it is pretty, isn't it?
Sorry?
It is pretty.
It is pretty.
I mean,
The mountains
it's a
are
tough
lovely.
and testing cross-country course, and that is a great shot. And I have to say, sitting here, I'm quite envious. I would like to be out there running around there.
I'm very happy where I am at the moment. Anyway, there's Cripper with a dominating win in the end, but of course helped, if you like, by that Novikov mistake. Michael Venard, who finished 3rd in the trials, was effectively 2nd of the eligible British athletes in the trials in the first of the British athletes home. Pete Chambers will be disappointed with his run in 26th place. Jack Hopkins and Kieran Wood, the other 2 counters, and I reckon, as I said, Britain around about 6th in the team race there. Belhaj, that's a poor run from him. He was considered one of the favourites to win a medal here, Mehdi Belhaj. Good performer over steeplechase on the track last year. Kevin Mulcair of Ireland, the early leader, in 33rd position. And hopefully we'll get a fairly quick resolution of the team race. We didn't get results, official results of the women, but I did say, and we'll remind you again, that Great Britain won the gold medal in the junior women's team race, and the individual silver and bronze went to Jess Judd and Lydia Turner. If you're just waking up on this Sunday morning, had a little bit of snow. Paul, I know that you live in warmer climes but these days, but had a little bit of snow on the hills of Northumberland this week.
That's where it should be in December, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
It's got to be Christmassy and snowy.
With a bit of luck, we might get a little bit of the white stuff over Christmas. You never know. It's meant to warm up a little this week, I think. Well, 4 more races to come. Under 23 women will be next. And again, Great Britain with their very high hopes, both individually and in the team race as well. And more of that in a few minutes. Confirmation of the team standings. Great Britain actually did improve quite dramatically, but only up to 5th place, and in the end they weren't that far away from a bronze medal. Turkey ended up with 70. Russia, look at them, they were pretty solid and went all the way down to 137 points in the end.